they do to Captain Hook? Greetings, my wonderful jelly spoons, and welcome to a not episode of Monday Madness. Shock and horror, Mauku is bringing you extra content. Well, I'm probably a day late to the game because all the Disney fans have got their videos in already and their reactions and whatever, but here I am! And this week, my Peter Pan hobbyist and obsessionist lore enthusiast side is out in full force, as you can probably tell from my Gene Forbes Robertson costume and the place I'm standing. We have finally gotten the official trailer for the 2023 Disney movie Peter Pan and Wendy. And I, as a Peter Pan hobbyist and obsessionist, have thoughts. First of all, for anybody who does not know, hi! I'm a Peter Pan lore enthusiast, a hobbyist and obsessionist, if you will. I've been studying this story since I was a very small child. I know these characters, the story, the lore, yeah, far too well, really. But hey, it's my thing. I've been making content sharing fun lore and facts and trivia about this story for a couple of years now, here on my YouTube channel and over on my TikTok channels, my cosplay account, Morcus Noise, but most recently I've been putting it on the official Peter Pan Facts TikTok page. If you want to go and check that out, you can do. There is an Instagram page, but I have yet to post very much on that because I keep forgetting it exists. Sorry about that. So in an acorn button-sized shell then, I love this story, I love these characters, and so I'm reacting to this trailer with a heart full of love for the original story and these characters, and also with quite a lot of trepidation. Mostly because, well, this is Disney we're talking about, and their track record for live-action remakes. And of course, Disney's first animated Peter Pan movie was not that great either. Pairing with this, the director and scriptwriter has already said that he found the process challenging because he had so much love for the Disney animated film. This film?
Although father says...
Girls talk too much. Well, get on with it, girl.
Not filling me with great confidence there, Davy boy. To begin with then, let's talk about the casting and their characters. Jude Law as Captain Hook.
Wendy, Moira, Angela, darling. Where is Peter Pan?
So, we all know that Jude Law can act, right? And I was really interested to see what he would do with the role of Captain Hook. I really was. But upon watching this trailer, I have to ask, what did they do to Captain Hook? Genuinely, what is this aesthetic? It's giving me Master of Lake Town meets old creepy witch from Stardust. Let me just read for you, for comparison, the descriptions that J.M. Barrie gives us of the character of Captain Hook. His hair was dressed in long curls, which at a distance looked like long candles, and gave a singularly threatening expression to his handsome countenance. His eyes were of the blue of the forget-me-not, and of a profound melancholy, save when he was plunging his hook into you. In dress, he somewhat aped the attire associated with the name of Charles II, having heard it said in some earlier period of his career that he bore a strange resemblance to the ill-fated Stuarts. Is that this guy? I'm hoping that there's a plot-related reason for this. The thing that I'm struggling with is, if you showed somebody a picture of this character and didn't show them the hook on his hand, he would just look like any other pirate, and probably not even a main character either. So yeah, really hoping there's a plot-related reason for this. In one piece of positive news, however, the hook is on the correct hand. Finally, Disney is correcting its previous mistake.
I'll teach you to cut off me hand.
Oh no, John. It was the left hand.
No, Wendy, it was not. So Captain Hook's hook being on the right hand is a small saving grace, but by God am I holding on to it. I would also like to note that while Jude Law is a grand actor, his stepping into the role of Hook does mean that we are no longer getting the traditional duo role of Captain Hook and Mr. Darling being played by the same actor. In this movie, Mr. Darling is being played by Wash from Firefly! And while I am still very interested to see what Jude Law does with this part, I am kind of gutted we didn't get to see Alan have a go. However, I would not wish that ratty wig on anyone, so maybe Alan just took a quick glance at the costume concept and yeeted out a dodge on that one. Next up, we have Peter Pan, being played by Alexander Maloney.
Were you expecting someone else?
This costume is giving me really strong Sissy Loftus vibes, and also a little bit of Betty Bronson and a tiny bit of Maud Adams, but mostly Sissy, and I like it for the most part. I do wish that it had some more detailing, although perhaps we'll see more of that in the slightly brighter scenes when we get a better look at the costume. Also, I personally am not particularly fond of that hat. I'm not sure why yet, I'm not vibing with it, but hopefully it'll grow on me. Wendy Darling being portrayed in this movie by Eva Anderson.
How did you come to Neverland?
You're ready for an adventure?
This costume really looks nice. I like this design for Wendy. I love the detailing we get on the sleeves of her dressing gown, and I like the lace details at the top of her collar as well. Interestingly, I can't see an acorn button, either on a chain or attached to her anywhere. We don't really get many close-ups, but I can't spot it yet, and that is interesting. However, I am growing more and more concerned that this movie is falling into a common trope of more modern retellings of Peter Pan, where they are changing Wendy Darling's character too much. This has been done to death, particularly in the 2003 Peter Pan movie, in written retellings, and in the very aptly titled stage show, Wendy and Peter Pan. I'll talk more about this in my questions and concerns bit later on, and some of the plot guesses as well, but if you want to see a video I did do a whole video where I talked about the character of Wendy Darling, and I'll link that somewhere above, in whichever direction. Next up we have Tinkerbell, this time being portrayed by Yara Shahidi. We barely see enough of Tinkerbell for me to really talk about the performance of the actor at all, but she does visually look absolutely brilliant. I love her expressions, we see that a few times, and the costume looks great as well. So far, looks-wise, visually, I'm excited. I cannot wait to see more. Not me furiously Googling to make sure that I pronounce this person's name right. And now we move on to possibly the most exciting piece of casting news, Tiger Lily, this time being portrayed by Alyssa Wapanathuk. I looked up how to pronounce his name and I am very sorry if I got it wrong. So finally, after years of this and this.
The Pan is our tribe's bravest warrior. It's our tradition to grant you the chance to win your freedom.
Finally, we have some not just appropriate, but good casting for Tiger Lily. The costume looks friggin' great, as it should. Tiger Lily is a complete badass, and just in case anyone is foolish enough to not believe me when I say that Tiger Lily is badass. Here we go, from the original novel. Here we go. Bringing up the rear, the place of greatest danger, comes Tiger Lily, proudly erect, a princess in her own right. She is most beautiful, coquettish, cold, and amorous by turns. There is no one among them who would not have her to wife, but she staves off the altar with a hatchet. I have been waiting for Tiger Lily to have a badass moment on screen, and I need to see her fighting. We need to witness her badassery. Dear God, Disney, come on, you can do it. I believe in you. And now we go on to Mrs. Darling, this time being portrayed by Molly Parker, somehow looking very like Emma Thompson in this clip, and that is a compliment. I really love this look for Mrs. Darling. We do see her for only about 2 seconds, but she looks wonderful. She is beautiful. I can practically see the hidden kiss in the corner of her mouth. I really like this look for Mrs. Darling. I can't wait to see more of her. I just adore it, love it. Yep, can't wait to see more. And now we're on to another favourite moment of mine from the trailer, the Lost Boys.
Are you?
Lost Boys.
Every last one of us. But you're not all boys. So?
Oh my word, I am loving these costumes. They all look fantastic. I love the natural elements. Birdie in particular looks very interesting, but Nibs is my favourite. As soon as I saw Nibs on screen with the cute little bunny ears, I was sold. Nibs is my favourite. Absolutely, 100% hands down. Nibs' hat is my new happy place. Nibs has the happy hat, Peter's hat is my sad place. It will grow on me, it really will. The only concern I have about the Lost Boys is Tootles.
Lost Boys.
Every last one of us.
Assuming that the name that popped up on the person speaking in the trailer was correct, then this Tootles comes across as very confident, very sure of himself, and very bold, which is not how Tootles actually is at all. And this character came across to me more like Slightly. Now, Slightly is on the cast list, but not particularly in the trailer, so I'm wondering why they've made this big change to Tootles' character, and if there's going to be a plot-related reason for that. For me, I would just rather see this actor portraying Slightly. And lastly, a quick mention for the pirates.
Look!
I love pirates, as you all probably know, and I play them in D&D regularly. These guys look awesome. I'm loving all the costumes. I like all the stripes and the little bits of patchwork and things. They all look very cool, visually stunning. Loving the ship as well, by the way. However, while I was going down the cast list, I found myself kind of disappointed by the fact that, well, the pirate names weren't particularly well utilised at all. We have some new ones. Some of the new pirate names include Mrs. Starkey. Now, I can't tell if this is a gender swap from Gentleman Starkey, who's in the original, or if it's maybe Starkey's mother, his wife, but I can't see another Starkey on the cast list, so really, if you're going to gender swap them, I don't see any reason to not just call them Starkey, but hey Disney, you do you. Then we have Scrimshaw Sam, which I just love as a name. We've also got Girly, which the more I say it sounds like girly, but you know, brr, pirate, grr. We've also got Dirtbag Benny, which just makes me think of Benji. And someone called Black Matthew, who isn't necessarily a pirate, but that name appeared on the cast list and it sounded piratical to me. And then we have 3 rounds of chorus pirates, a pirate number 22, 1 pirate crew member, and 1 simply pirate. Now, these names are kind of a shame for me because while inventing new ones is fine, I'm wondering why they didn't give all of the pirates names, even the ones who weren't speaking. To be just called Chorus Pirate, I mean, come on. There are plenty of names from the original text they could have used, and they could have given all of these background pirates names. Some of the names available from the plays and the novel include Checo, Bill Dukes, Cookson, Alf Mason, Skylights. Now there is somebody called Skylight on the cast list, but presumably they're not plural anymore. We also have Mullins and Wibbles of the Eye Patch. I mean, come on, if you're going to be a background pirate, you want to be Wibbles of the Eye Patch. But then again, maybe their names haven't been put on the official cast list on IMDb yet. Who knows? Now I'm going to move on to my questions, thoughts, and concerns. We'll start with the questions. Why does Wendy say,
"You ready for an adventure?"
when they are already out of their nursery and standing on Big Ben? Surely that line would make more sense if it was spoken from the window to their nursery. And then you could have had the same shot of all of them taking off and flying into the air and the explosion of fairy dust. I just... Visually it looks great, so props for that, but yeah, I don't understand why that line was put where it was. Another question now. Why is Captain Hook saying Wendy Darling's full name like a predator?
Wendy, Moira, Angela, darling.
I'm hoping that he's trying to be mocking and maybe Wendy has just introduced herself to him and said, "I'm Wendy Moira Angela Darling, who are you?" And he's gone, "Wendy Moira Angela Darling." But yeah, I'm getting really, word I cannot say on the internet vibes from this version of Hook, and I am not fond of it. Those vibes were definitely not there in the original. Also, another question about Captain Hook's lines. Why is Captain Hook asking somebody, presumably Wendy, but we don't know, in the trailer,
Tell me, how did you come to Neverland?
Canonically, Captain Hook has been back and forth from the Neverland many times. He knows full well how you get there. Why is he asking that? I don't understand what he's asking. Surely it would make more sense for him to ask them why they came to the Neverland. Again, maybe there's a plot-related reason. Maybe he's gone insane, forgotten everything he ever used to know, and let his hair go ratty. I guess we'll find out in April. My last question for the moment, but I probably will have more as time goes on, is why is Big Ben smashing? As I said before, it's a cool shot aesthetically, but just why? Why is it breaking? What is it doing? I don't understand. Why? On from questions then, and now my thoughts. Starting with the Lost Boys hideout.
What is this place? It's home.
Peter found it. Just like he found all of us.
It doesn't appear to be the home under the ground, which is where the Lost Boys, the twins, Slightly, Tootles, Curly and Nibs were living with Peter at the time. So I'm interested in that change. But it does still look visually interesting. It seems like they're living in the ruins of something, maybe an old castle. Now we do know in Barry's lore that there are princes on the Neverland, so maybe they're in the ruins of one of their castles. It is definitely interesting, but as a fan of the original story, I'm just sad that once again, an adaptation has deprived me of seeing the hollow trees into the home under the ground. Moving from the hideout to the Lost Boys themselves, I am so glad, finally, that people are catching on to what I have been saying for so many years. Lost Boys is a title and not a description of what you have to be in order to become a member. You do not have to be a boy in order to be a lost boy. Also, quick word on gender. Canonically, the Neverland is a fantastic ally because there is canonically multiple different genders in the lore of the Neverland. Check out this quote from the play. "The mauve fairies are boys, and the white ones are girls, and there are some colours who don't know what they are." Canonical in the text, so all of the inhabitants of the Neverland would see any form of gender as perfectly normal. Another thought now, this time about Peter. We see a moment where he is standing in the darling's nursery and Michael says, "Peter Pan!" And Peter says back,
Were you expecting someone else?
and this line just doesn't feel very Peter to me. Peter would visit the darling's nursery, and many other nurseries probably, to listen to the stories. He never went in, he never interacted with the children, and the only time he did was when he went in to retrieve his shadow while the children were asleep. They didn't plan their trip to the Neverland. They weren't expecting him. And also, Peter is so cocky and arrogant that he would always assume that when he arrives, people are either happy to see him or fear him. So I just feel like the script could have done with a little tweak here. I don't think that Peter would ever say a line like, "Were you expecting someone else?" I just don't think it's a line that Peter would really say. Instead, in response to Michael's awed exclamation of, "Peter Pan?" I feel like he would say something more along the lines of, "The one and only," or even just crow. I feel like that would be a much more Peter Pan thing to do than say, "Were you expecting someone else?" It's not a big nitpick, but I am going to be looking at the script writing predominantly in this, because you can have an amazing cast of actors, which they clearly do, but if they're given a poor script, there's not a lot they can do with it. So yeah, I'm giving this line a downvote, but I do want to see the context of the scene before I completely pass judgment. It just, knowing the script and the character as well as I do, it just doesn't sound like Peter. And a really, really big sort of happy thought, but I'm also not holding my breath because it could very easily change, is that at no point in this trailer did we hear the dreaded second star to the right. Because as anybody who's been following my content for any amount of time will know, or indeed anyone who's, read the original story will know, there is no star. And if you head over to my Ko-fi page and soon my Etsy store, you can purchase yourself a "There's No Star" badge. It was a joke that started as a joke and now it's a thing. I also have other badges available in my shop. Here they are. Bing! So for anybody who does not know, Disney added in the word star. There is no such thing as second star to the right and straight on till morning. That's not in the original story at all. It's not there. I think Disney added it to try and get more magic out of the situation, but really that was unnecessary. And also it takes away quite a lot from both Peter's character and the lore of the Neverland as well. Let me explain quickly. In the original story, Wendy asks Peter where he lives, and his response is this: "Second to the right and straight on till morning." J.M. Barrie later explains in another chapter that Peter said this completely off the top of his head, and it means nothing. So second to the right and straight on till morning are not directions to the Neverland. J.M. Barrie even writes that birds carrying maps could not find the Neverland using those directions because they're not directions. It's just some nonsense that Peter said. It adds so much to his forgetful nature and that part of his personality. And also, the only way that you can really and truly find the Neverland Island is if the island is out looking for you, which is a hugely important detail and a fascinating piece of lore. You can find out more about this over on my TikTok page, particularly my brand new Peter Pan Facts account, where I've actually been using this piece of lore to do a series entitled Could They Visit?, where people throw me characters and I use my lore and knowledge to tell you whether I think the Neverland Island would allow them onto the island or not. It's been quite fun, so go check it out if you're on TikTok. So by Disney adding star just to get a whimsical quote, they actually did more damage than they realised. It robs Peter's character of his forgetful, nonsensical, impulsive quality, and it anchors the Neverland Island into one place, which just ruins the magic for me. But I am not being optimistic about this because while I didn't hear it mentioned in the trailer, this is Disney and they probably will mention it at some point, and I am slightly concerned that Peter will say the phrase "second star to the right and straight until morning" in the same scene where we saw him in the trailer saying "it's closer than you think." But hey, I can dream that I'm wrong. And now we come to my concerns as a Peter Pan lore enthusiast, hobbyist and obsessionist. I have concerns. Starting off with a really big disappointment to me from the trailer, the Neverland Island itself.
Michael! God! What is this place? It's home.
It just seems a bit bleak. It lacks any colour or vibrancy. It doesn't look like a Neverland magical fantasy island. It just looks like any old island you'd find in the sea. In the fantastic shot that nobody can ever resist doing in any adaptations, where the children are flying towards the island, where are the million golden arrows beaming down from the sun as it says goodnight to the children? Where is the smoke from the encampments? Where's the magic? Where are the fairies? Where's any of it? For comparison, here are some original illustrations from the Peter Pan story. And here are some of the Neverlands that I've really enjoyed seeing on screen, from the 2003 movie, and Fox's TV series, Peter Pan and the Pirates, and my favourite Neverland of all time that I've ever seen on screen, from the movie Finding Neverland. All of those clips show me fantasy, magical island full of adventure, fairies and fantastical creatures. But in this trailer, I'm really not getting that, and it's genuinely gutting. Perhaps, though, there is a plot-related reason for all of this. I will go more into that in my plot guesses section later on. Moving on to my next concern then, and it's a doozy. The character and potential changes to Wendy Darling. I've said this a lot when it comes to modern retellings and adaptations of the story of Peter Pan. Wendy Darling does not need a strong girl makeover. I talk more about this in the video essay I did about the 2003 movie and what they did to the character of Wendy Darling. I will link it somewhere above and it will be in the description down below. Please go and watch that because I can go into far more detail about what I mean there, but for now I will give you a brief little summary. It concerns me that people still seem to believe that the original Wendy Darling character was somehow lacking, or wrong, or just not strong. And so what often happens is people warp and change her character so much that the only thing she has in common with her original counterpart is the name, Wendy Darling. This movie has given me those warning vibes since the D23 interviews, when the actor said that this time Wendy Darling was being treated as an equal to Peter Pan. The thing is that in the original story, Peter and Wendy are not equals, and that's a big point of the story, and it's a huge part of their dynamic. And arguably, Peter is the lesser one. Wendy Darling understands things way more than he ever could. She does not forget things, whereas Peter always does. Wendy wants to grow up and is happy to do so. She understands the world of grown-ups, not completely, but way more than Peter. And Wendy Darling makes most of the decisions that drive the story. So yeah, the idea of making her and Peter equal actually means bringing Wendy down a little bit. And the trailer has not eased my concerns at all. We see Wendy sword fighting in her nursery.
Afraid of my love.
Which gives me flashbacks to the 2003 movie.
I want to be a pirate.
And we also later see her fighting on the pirate ship. Again, like in the 2003 movie.
Why should she stay? What have you to offer?
And I just have to ask, why? Wendy Darling, canonically, did not want to and never joined in with the fighting. And that is not a bad thing. I am so tired of writers taking non-combative characters, shoving a sword into their hand and going, look, I fixed them, I made them strong. And I want to make that abundantly clear because there might be someone like that watching this video right now. If you are watching this video and you relate to the original character of Wendy Darling, you do not feel like a fighter, you would not want a sword in your hand. Please know, you are perfectly strong just as you are. You do not need to be a fighter to be strong. The original Wendy Darling, the true Wendy Darling, is strong. She has a personality. She drives and shapes the plot. Most of her decisions decide where the story goes. From her deciding to go to the Neverland with Peter in the first place, to her deciding to come back. She wants to grow up. She wants to be a mother. That is decided from the very beginning of the story, and it never changes. She is emotionally strong. She is resourceful and clever. She manages to find things that her parents have lost. She is trusted by her parents over each other, and she manages to find an exact shade of berry that she is looking for by herself on the island of the Neverland. She knows what she wants and she is confident in that and never changes her mind. She is kind and polite, but she takes no crap. She can snap and she will argue. She tends to wounds, tells stories, but is still not a pushover. She manages to organise the chaos that is 6 lost boys, Peter Pan and her 2 brothers, and do it well, and they all respect her. She is maternal and not interested in combat. And all of that is perfectly fine. She is a very well-rounded character, completely fleshed out, without needing to throw a sword in her hand. I am very worried that this movie is going to red-handed Jill her, just like the 2003 movie did. The only positive will be that they don't make her as weak and pathetic and annoying as the Disney animation movie did. The original Wendy Darling deserves better than all of the adaptations have given her. And now I'm going to use my Peter Pan hobbyist and obsessionist brain and lore knowledge to try to guess some parts of the plot from the trailer. We're going to start with that beach scene right at the beginning. So Wendy Darling watches as fairy dust seems to be fading from her hands. She seems worried and alarmed, and she is by herself. In the next clip, she appears to be carrying something, which at first I thought was John's hat, meaning that she had in fact flown with Tinker Bell in the hat like in the novel, and then been shot down by Tootles, and that's why she landed on the beach. However, upon closer inspection, I think it's Peter's hat. I recognise it because I really don't like it. And later on in the trailer, we saw the pirates firing Long Tom. So, putting all of that together, I think that we are seeing the scene where Wendy Darling arrives on the Neverland for the first time after the flight. So, my guess is that after reaching the island from their flight, the pirates fired Long Tom, just like in the novel, and the Darling siblings, Peter and Tink, got separated. If you are going by the novel, then Peter will have been blown far out to sea by the wind of the shot, Wendy blown upwards with Tinker Bell in the hat, and John and Michael left panicking in the air in the dark by themselves. Wendy then appears to fall to the beach, either holding this hat or potentially she finds it later on. Then she looks at her hands and sees the fairy dust drifting off her, which she may take as indication that she can no longer fly. She may be right or she may be wrong about this. She then looks for Peter and her brothers, not being able to find any of them. However, at this point, she may find Peter's hat. She then encounters the Lost Boys, who take her to their hideout, and on the way they find John and Michael. And then the rest of the plot ensues. There are two more guesses that I have to make about this movie though, and the next one is about the bleakness of the Neverland. So maybe there is a plot-related reason for why the Neverland Island just doesn't look particularly magical or colourful and just looks kind of grey and saturated. Here's my theory. What if, for most of this movie, Peter Pan isn't even there? I've gone over the trailer a few times just to check, and we do in fact only see Peter Pan on the island right at the seemingly climactic moment where they're all fighting on the ship and he does a great run and leap off Tiger Lily and her horse. Now, in the lore of J.M. Barrie's story, he explains that the Neverland Island is always full of adventures and ever-changing seasons and life and vibrancy, but whenever Peter Pan is away from the island, things calm down a little bit. Everyone takes a little longer in the mornings, the adventures still happen, but slower. If people meet each other, they don't always fight, and everything is just a lot calmer. So, putting this into visual terms, what if when Peter is not on the island of the Neverland, it is just not as bright, not as colourful, and it is just more normal for all of the inhabitants living there? Maybe then, in this movie, the Darlings lost Peter on the flight to the Neverland, or when the cannon is fired at them. I'm going to use one of my favourite chapters in the novel to explain what I mean here. It's the chapter called The Flight, and it tells you the details of the journey to the Neverland, and when I say it's harrowing and dark, just watch my Dark Peter Pan Facts videos and you will see. So on the flight to the Neverland, Peter is constantly getting bored and forgetful, and he goes off to have his own adventures. He can fly so much better and so much faster than the Darling children that he's always zooming off and off and off, and when he comes back laughing about his adventures, he cannot remember where he's been or what he's been doing. And, most importantly of all, he often starts to fly straight past the Darling children, having completely forgotten who they are. And Wendy has to constantly remind him. So what if, and this is a very big what if because I do not trust Disney with this source material at all, what if Disney are finally leaning into the dark, canonical lore of this story, and they have Peter actually forget them, and the children are left there to have a cannon fired at them, and then Wendy drops to the beach and has lost everybody, and the only remnant is Peter's hat. I doubt they're going to go with that, but hey, I can dream. This would account for why we do not see any clips of Peter Pan interacting with any of the children or the characters on the Neverland in the trailer until right at the very end, and it would also explain why the Neverland is looking so bleak and not very exciting. It's because Peter's not there. Yeah, it's not very likely, is it? But hey, let me dream. Let me dream. The final piece of guesswork that I am fairly confident that I have got correct is the ending. Now, on the cast list, we have two characters who are called older Wendy Darling. One of them is Deborah Ramsey, and the other is Cassie Von Wald. So this hopefully means that we will finally get to see the scene when Wendy grew up. which is a fantastic addition to the stage play, a really good chapter in the novel, and unfortunately, while having been filmed for the 2003 adaptation, it was sadly cut before the movie released. So hopefully we can see this scene. It'll be really nice to see the grown-up Wendy and her daughter and their interactions with Peter as well. That is it for now then. My thoughts, questions, concerns, guesses for the plot, comments on costumes, yep, that is everything. So overall then, there is good, there is questionable, and there is bad. And lastly, of course, we have Peter's hat. I'm kidding. It will grow on me. It will. So from this Peter Pan lore enthusiast, hobbyist and obsessionist who loves this story and these characters so much, I am cautiously optimistic about this movie. I will definitely be watching it the day it comes out if I can, and I am very interested to find out the answers to all of my questions. What did you think about the trailer then? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. If you want to support me, head over to my Ko-fi or my Patreon pages. I am going to be opening my Etsy shop soon, but currently the UK can't ship to America, so I've put a bit of a hold on that for now. If you'd like to commission me to do an in-character video for you, check out my Ko-fi page for those. I also have my bleach paint customized t-shirts where you can request a design and I will do it for you as well. In the meantime, if you want to see more of my Peter Pan related content, go check out my Neverland Watch playlist on my channel. I also have crazy cosplay content and stuff as well. If you really love Peter Pan content, then you can watch that playlist and you can check out my TikTok account, the Peter Pan Facts TikTok page. And if you want to support my cosplaying as well, go check out my Mauku account too. Alright, goodbye my wonderful jelly spoons. Goodbye.